Hello and welcome to the 2021 British GT Season Review, sponsored by Intelligent Money. With this year's motorsport season returning somewhat back to normal, spectators could once again look forward to enjoying one of the most competitive national GT championships in the world, and they weren't disappointed. My name is Andy McEwen. This week we'll take you on a two-part tour of the highlights from the spectacular 2021 British GT season. The championship kicked off at the legendary Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Joining me in the commentary box for the opening round was David Addison.
The lights are out, so we are going to go this time. Good on you, Peter. So he gives the instruction. Lorna Vickers behind the wheel of the safety car will start to accelerate clear to therefore give Andrew Howard, who will head the pack, the space to go racing. So finally, green flags are ready, Andy.
Yeah, let's properly now get the 2021 season underway then. After a safety car start, we are about to get to racing speed with Andrew Howard in Beech Dean Aston Martin at the head of the field. He accelerates out of Clark Curve, comes across the start-finish line, and we are racing in 2021. Andrew Howard leads them into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, with a pair of Lamborghinis right behind him. Machitski already on his toes to try and get up the inside of Michael Igoe. And here, a bit further back, we've got James Cottingham, a much newer car than he's used to racing, it has to be said. He's a bit of a historic racing ace, making a move there, I think, on Stuart Proctor into Paddock Hill Bend. They're all cleanly through the first corner or so, and no one, for the time being at least, getting too carried away.
I like the rather cheeky flash of the lights from Michael Igoe on the start there to try and unsettle Andrew Howard. Got to get up earlier to do that, though. So riding on board with Adam Ballon at the moment, fifth in the Lamborghini. They all concertina down towards Surtees. There is James Cottingham, rather cheekily having a look on the inside to try and get past Ian Loggett. Ian's much more experienced, a modern-day GT racer, but James Cottingham, who is a very accomplished historic racer indeed, going from 1960s cars even up to sports prototypes of the early noughties, he is taking to GT racing, GT3 cars in particular, like a duck to water, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, Seamus Jennings there in that GCAT Racing Porsche is also looking really strong. He topped the warm-up times this morning. Read into that what you will, but he's on his toes here to try and get up the inside of Stuart Proctor. This is all getting a bit dicey through Westfield, and now Lucky Carer gets a run on him. And just as I say nice things about Seamus, he ends up losing a place and falls to the back of the GT3 field.
And there, Adam Ballon is under attack, look, from Richard Neary. That is for fifth place. I was about to point out as well that on the back of that little GT3 fight we were looking at was the GT4 leading BMW, which is staying with them. Will Burns doing a very, very impressive job in the BMW M4 then for Century Motorsport as the leaders come across the line then. Proper flying lap in the book. Andrew Howard leads, Michael Igoe is there. Richard Neary goes to the outside line against Adam Ballon. The Mercedes brakes very, very late going into paddock round the outside. Tries to go Richard Neary. That was brave and it didn't quite work. He stays on the island, but that was a really courageous effort for Richard Neary.
Into paddock, Igoe has a big look at the inside of Andrew Howard, a sort of half effort to go through. He has a good exit out of paddock though, and this time he is fully alongside, and Lamborghini goes to the front. WPI Motorsport then leading the way, and now Igoe should be able to pull away because he looks in these conditions to be a bit more confident than Howard.
John Ferguson here, hard at work behind the wheel of the Supra. Another car that makes a great noise, that, and within the overall order at the moment, where do you find the Toyota of John Ferguson? He is in 19th spot. He's second in Pro-Am in GT4.
Yes, overall in GT4, it's the Will Brigade. You've got Will Burns and Will Moore first and second, actually separated by the Ultimate Speed GT3 Aston Martin. Up the inside line looks Chris Salkeld then in Harriet's Chariot, and he gets into the side of the Toyota. Off goes John Ferguson, backwards into the gravel trap, and I don't think he'll be able to dig his way out of there.
No, and that, I'm afraid, is going to be a yellow flag, isn't it? It's going to be a safety car to get him out. John Ferguson then, with only a little rub, it's enough to unsettle the car because it's all loaded up as you turn through the corner. Around it goes. Slippery road as well, making it harder to save. And, yes, there's going to be a case to answer there, isn't there?
Cottingham keeps looking at all of the same places, but they're not working, are they? I know he's hoping to force a mistake out of Ballon, but he's going to have to get really inventive here if he's going to actually make a move.
Yeah, the move at paddock starts now. Good run out of Sterling's. Do not make a mistake. Get the momentum through Clark Curve. Get the line right so that you're close coming up towards the line and then you can pounce. Let's see, is he near enough? The Lamborghini, good with the aero, cuts through the air nicely. Ian Loggie's view as Cottingham again lines up for the inside line. Oh, so close. Go on, James. Is he going to commit? There's contact and around they both go. Both both into the gravel. Ian Logie survives it. They're both on the lip of the road. Cottingham committed, but maybe it was a bit too late. We'll see it from the outside, hopefully. That's surely going to be another safety car because they are absolutely on the lip of the road. Safety car straight away is called for by Peter Daly, the clerk of the course, and quite understandably so. And James Cottingham, I'm afraid, has blotted his copybook a little bit there, it would appear, from the onboard shot. We'll see it from the outside, I'm sure. And the race leader manages to get a back marker between himself and the opposition as we go safety car for the second time. Poor, high drama, and that's a real shame that James Cottingham's race ends that way. Shame Adam Ballan's race ends that way, but for a GT3 rookie, James Cottingham had been absolutely outstanding to that point. Johnny Adam is ready to go, Martin Plowman is ready to go. In 18, Phil Keane is about to live up to his name and be eager to get out there. And their 57 BMW has come in then, so Will Burns to give way to Gus Burton. That was the GT4 leading BMW, having that battle early on as the leader goes out then. So now Phil Keane takes on Johnny Adam, takes on Dennis Lind, takes on Sam Neary. It's going to be really interesting, isn't it, to see who comes out from all of this. But a slow stop, seemingly, from the Machitski Lind Lamborghini, because that has lost a place to Logie and Berman. So what's gone on there?
Yeah, I thought so. You can see it's only just ahead now of Sam Neary, isn't it? So back into the race they go, but Dennis Lind a lot further back than he should have been. So there has to be a story there. Literally just made the point of how all of the pit stops should be equal. There are no success penalties in this first round of the championship. That, of course, will change from Silverstone onwards. But yeah, there must have been an issue. But only so many things that can go wrong, really. Maybe a tyre got stuck and wouldn't go on or wouldn't come off properly. Maybe they struggled with the belts getting Dennis Lind in, but Dennis has done a few driver changes over the years. So, yeah, at a bit of a loss there, David. Johnny does know that consistency wins championships, but he also knows that points win championships. Most of the championships he's won by a very small margin. So, again, he won't want to get to the end of the season and look back at this race and the second place that he didn't fight hard enough for and see that that cost him the championship. So it is going to be a rather tasty battle. I'm now more and more convinced that Lind is going to get there as well, because he is suddenly taking big chunks of time out of Johnny Adam again. The lap times are back into the 26s for both of them, as the fuel load, of course, diminishes. And these Pirelli tyres do keep their pace pretty deep into the stint. So a light car, a driver in Dennis Lind who clearly is clicking with car and circuit right now. And on this lap again, he was 2 tenths quicker in the first sector. He was about 4 tenths quicker in the middle sector. And that is the GT4 leader, Charlie Robertson, in the pit lane with a left rear puncture. Absolutely right. So how much time is this going to lose them? How much did they have in hand? Well, they've lost the lead already. Gus Burton has gone through. So on the limp-in lap, the Ginetta has lost its class lead with 5 3/4 minutes on the clock. Can you believe it? Drama in GT4 in the last knockings of the race. Then it's still in the pit lane. This becomes the class leader. And there, the Ginetta still has to get the new tyre on. It is done. Now the car's got to be dropped down. Come on, chaps. Suddenly it all becomes a panic. Is everything right? Is it tightened up? Have you done the nuts? They've done one half of the operation, of course, the mandatory pit stop, but this is all something new and it's in a panic in the heat of the race. So go, go, go. Charlie Robertson blasts away. But that is a win snatched away with just over 5 minutes to go, because they're going to have lost the best part of 3/4 of a lap to the leading BMW. It is going to be a second British GT win for Michael Igoe. It's going to be an 18th for Phil Keane. He's going to be 2 clear of Johnny Adam now, because honours in the opening round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship go to Phil Keane and Michael Igoe in the WPI Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan. Great effort by the team, by Michael, by Phil. Second, Johnny Adam and Andrew Howard just ahead by 3 tenths of a second from Leo Machitski and Dennis Lind. Fourth goes the way of Jelmer Berman and Ian Logie. Fifth, father and son, Richard and Sam Neary. And for 6th place, it should be Scott Mulvern and Nick Jones. Now, what about GT4? Yes, well, this is going to be very good news for Century Motorsport, isn't it? Because Gus Burton is going to bring the 57 car home, a race winner in GT4. He and Will Burns win the opening round of the British GT4 Championship. There is the first part of the Century Motorsport celebration. And a little while longer, about 10 seconds later or so, there'll be another part, because Chris Salkeld, on his debut in the championship, is going to finish second with his teammate Andrew Gordon-Colebrook. Provisionally finish second, because they have that incident that's going to be investigated after the race for the contact Salkeld had with the Toyota of John Ferguson.
Let's have a look at the results. Michael Igoe and Phil Keane, the winners, ahead of Johnny Adam and Andrew Howard. Second, Leo Machitski and Dennis Lind in third. Fourth, Ian Logie and Yelmer Berman, ahead of Richard and Sam Neary, who are the Silver and Am winners in fifth. From GT3, Scott Malvern and Nick Jones taking sixth overall. The GT3 Am Porsche of Greg Caton and Seamus Jennings coming home in 10th place. And have a look down to GT4, where honours go the way of Will Burns and Gus Burton. 13th overall, behind the delayed Sandy Mitchell and Adam Ballon Lamborghini, and ahead of the sister BMW of Chris Selkelt and Andrew Gordon Colebrook.
Well, thank you everyone for your company. I hope you've all enjoyed the opening round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. It was an absolute thriller, which saw Michael Igoe and Phil Keane come out on top in GT3, with Century Motorsport making 1-2 in GT4. We will be back again next time at Silverstone for the longest race of the season. Thank you everyone for joining us here at Brands Hatch. We'll see you again next time.
Moving on to the second round of the championship, and we were racing at Silverstone for the 10th year of the blue-ribboned British GT race. The Silverstone 500 is the longest of the British GT season and consists of a 3-hour race in which teams compete, the prestigious RAC Trophy. Adding to the special occasion, I was joined in the commentary box by Marino Franchitti, who some of you may remember won the British GT Championship back in 2001. Let's dive into the highlights of this spectacular race.
British GT is in a really strong place at the moment. When you look at this grid as they come 2 by 2 out of Luffield, it does make the hairs on the back of your arms stand on end, doesn't it? 3 hours of racing, the Silverstone 500 then, round number 2 of the 2021 Intelligent Money British GT Championship. Martin Kodrich for 2Cs Motorsport on pole, with Adam Ballon in the number 1 car for Barwell Motorsport alongside him. When the red lights go out, we will be racing at Silverstone. That happens now. The thunder roars as they head towards Copse Corner. On the inside line, Martin Kodrich will hold on to the race lead. Into second stays Adam Ballon. Do they all get through Copse? Cold tyres. It's all very tight indeed. GT3 is all safe and sound. So is GT4, though. A bit of argy-bargy already there between the Toyota and the BMW, just as we saw last time at Brands Hatch. On board with Richard Neary in the Team ABBA Racing Mercedes, getting his elbows out as well as he tries to dig his way up the order, dicing away there with one of the TF Sport Aston Martins. All cleanly through Maggots and Beckett's, though. Marino, it's not really worth getting too stuck in on this first lap, is it? You don't want to ruin your race, but this is the time when you can make progress.
You can make progress. People trying to make progress there. I think this is the time, though. Track position's been so important previous years for this race. That's why people that have made the early pit stops sometimes have come out in front, because they've kept track position. People that don't, if they're at the back of the queue, it's hard to race your way back to the front.
Ooh, racing his way to the front, though, there, look, was the number 6 of Ian Logie ahead of Adam Ballon, and he brings Brendan Aribe with him as well. Brendan Aribe in the McLaren, off, I'm afraid, though, has gone the 21 McLaren, and that is Mia Fluitt, the Team Rocket car, and that's down at Stoke Order. I did see a car running wide. I think it was Mia, who in her first GT3 start, I'm afraid, hasn't got very far. Oh, sideways, and that's Machitski around, Liam Machitski around right in front of, that was Andrew Howard and Kelvin Fletcher, who did a brilliant job to avoid him, but the Lamborghini goes spinning, the car that finished third at Brands Hatch, and that looked to me, Marino, like cold tyres.
Cold tyres, as a tyre going down, it went so quickly. He did great. He did a really good job not to hit anyone or the wall, and he's recovered it quickly. And that's the thing, you stop in these cars, it's not like you can a manual where you can just select first. You've got to go back through the gears. He's done a good job. He's got it going again. We'll see if he comes in. Maybe he's flat spotted the tyres, or maybe he has an issue. But it is cold out there, so if he'd lost temperature in the warm-up lap, that certainly showed there.
Right, we'll break away from this for a second then. I believe Bryn down in the pit lane has a little bit of news about that number 15 Toyota of John Ferguson.
Yeah, that's right, Andy. I was just talking to Scott McKenna, who's getting ready to get in the car. They said they might have to go and have a pit stop if the scrutineers tell them they must do, or the stewards say they must come in. But Scott said he knows how distracting it is because it happened to him yesterday. So it is a problem they've had before.
Right, okay, so someone needs to find some stronger screws maybe to keep that thing in place for future rounds. Now, Sam Neary is staying in the car. That's sometimes a good sign, isn't it?
I'm going to say gearbox problem, just by the way that they're...
Right, well, we think...
Looks...
Okay, we think Bryn Lucas might have a little bit of news for us on this, so let's head down there. Bryn, what have you got?
Yeah, I've just spoken to the team. They say they use a compressed air gearbox, basically. They have compressed air in their gearbox, and they believe they got a link, or they have some kind of problem with the air pressure itself. And Richard Neary's working on the car with the mechanics right now.
In the first sector, he was 4/10 slower than Kodrich when he had that little look up the inside into Kopp's corner. He's already got that back, and he's right back on the tail of the Mercedes, and through these tight corners now at the end of the lap, surely is where Lind will have the edge. He goes up the inside of Kodrich through the Luffield corner. Kodrich cannot close the door. They are wheel to wheel for the lead of the race. We're an hour and a quarter into the Silverstone 500, and it could not be any closer. Dennis Lind on the inside line, Kodrich on the outside, and Lind has done it. Dennis Lind, after a spin for his teammate Liam Machitski on the opening lap of the race, put them to the back of the GT3 field. Just over an hour later, they hit the front. Gus Burton, 57, being warned about track limits for the first time at turn 7, which I think is going to be Stowe Corner, isn't it? Where he ran a little bit wide whilst Berman was lapping them right nose to tail again now through Aintree. Look how much curb Turner took on the inside.
Darren using all of the track there and a bit more.
That was the straightest line possible through there. He's up the inside now down the Wellington straight, and Darren Turner is about to move into the GT4 class lead. Yes, Gus Burton thought about turning in. Thankfully, didn't.
Glad he decided not to do that.
Yeah, that would have ended in contact, wouldn't it? So Darren Turner through, should now have the pace to get away.
He should. It looks like Darren's having a lot of fun. I like to see this. It's great.
Through comes Dennis Lind. What's that lap time? That was a 2 minute 0.0. Now that time he was 9/10 quicker than Kodrich. That's more like it, isn't it? Oh no, and that is Martin Plowman. Martin Plowman has stopped the Paddock Motorsport Bentley. That looks like it's down at Club.
I really don't like that with the Marshal with his back to the to the cars there. You know, it's obviously under yellows, but it just makes me nervous in case somebody gets it wrong. You got the waved yellows, and of course people should be respecting those, but it just always makes me nervous. I think we could see a safety car here.
Attitude there of Sandy Mitchell's car as it turned through turn 1. Now traffic at Beckett's, not a good place to catch GT4 cars. That's Will Moore in the Ford Mustang, and this surely now is music to the ears of Sandy Mitchell, who closes it on Dennis Lind, who's still getting blocked by the Mustang. Mitchell goes to the outside, to the inside, tries to get the speed off the corner, can't quite get the overlap, but he's right in the slipstream now. This for second place on the final lap of the race. Defensive line by Dennis Lind. They're going to catch the Andrew Gordon Colebrook BMW as well. Lind to the inside, Mitchell in the middle. There's a big squeeze. They almost made contact. Just about to avoid each other right round the outside for Mitchell. Now there is contact on the exit.
Contact.
Oh, he's going to have the inside line down to Club. Is he Mitchell late on the brakes? He has done it. Sandy Mitchell into second place. What a battle that was, and Dennis Lind is now going to try and fight back.
Looking. Come on,
Oh my word, Lind. Well, now Lind won't give up on this.
This is not over. No, this is definitely not over.
Brilliant racing, that absolutely fantastic.
A little bit of contact. It'd be hopefully Mitchell stayed within track limits while getting round that corner. It was hard to see, but
good point. Very good point. We'll find out later. Now up the inside of another map marker, they go into Village for the final time. Would you believe it? This is for second place, but a reminder: the car in the lead will not score points, so that was really significant potentially for the championship. The Barwell Motorsports 2 cars.
What a move!
Wow, talk about pressure on that move as well. Right, Martin Kodrich, thankfully, appears to have avoided exceeding track limits. He's a bit sideways through Brooklands, but he's only 2 corners from home now. The 2021 Silverstone 500 is going to be won by 2C's Motorsport, having never won a race in the championship before. It's their first time racing the Mercedes. They've dominated the weekend, fastest in qualifying comfortably, and they win the Silverstone 500, round number 2 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. Now, who will be second? It should be Sandy Mitchell, I think. Yes, it is. Sandy Mitchell does hang on from Dennis Lind. What a battle between the Barwell teammates.
What a finish. And all smiles in the garage, that's what we like to see. Everyone's friends.
That really reminds me of that Brands Hatch race a couple of years ago when Johnny Cocker, who was in the 69 Barwell Lamborghini at the time, was overtaken by Phil Keane on the last lap at Hawthorne round the outside. A very, very similar situation there, only this time at Stowe at Silverstone. GT4 then, Darren Turner is going to do it. He's going to win his first British GT race, and he's going to do it in style with Matt Topham on his debut in the championship. Matt Topham has dreamt of racing in British GT for years, and he wins on his first attempt. That is such a feel-good story, and they really were pushed hard there, weren't they? That Audi of Senan Fielding and Richard Williams, only 3.3 seconds back at the flag. So Martin Kodrich and Hunter Abbott win for 2Cs Motorsport with the the battling Barwell Lamborghinis behind them. Ballon and Mitchell getting the better of Machitski and Lind on the very last lap. GT4 was won by Darren Turner and Matt Topham with Sen and Fielding and Richard Williams in the Audi second. Scott McKenna and John Ferguson were third in the Toyota, ahead of Will Burns and Gus Burton, who led most of the race in the 57 BMW, and Mark Sansom and Charlie Robertson rounding out the top 5. The battle at the end was all about second place. The two Barwell Motorsport Lamborghinis went wheel to wheel on the last lap, with Sandy Mitchell moving into second. But the race victory in the Silverstone 500 went the way of 2Cs Motorsport, with Martin Kodrich and Hunter Abbott winning at the Silverstone 500.
Round number 3 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship was at Donington Park. This was the first of 2 visits to this circuit over the course of the season, the summer round now becoming a mid-season tradition ahead of the Donington Decider, which returns as the last round of the championship. With me in the commentary box for this one was Joe Osborne.
What will the championship standings look like in 2 hours' time, I wonder? Well, we're about to get the first piece of the puzzle in place, because round number 3 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship gets underway now. The roar builds as the field pours towards Redgate Corner. It's absolutely level between Ian Loggy on the inside, and on the outside, Michael Igoe into third place. Look comes Nick Jones in the Team Park Racing Porsche, and there all around again goes the WPI car. Michael Igoe is collected by Leo Machitski. The second year in a row the WPI car has spun at Redgate Corner on lap 1. Richard Neary, Joe Osborne, is in second place from 10th on the grid. I know you said he was on the front foot, but that is astonishing.
Absolutely mad start there. There's quite a lot happening in the mid-pack. Adam Ballon was slow to get going. The Bentley actually hit him as we went over the start-finish line. And yeah, it looks like Jones and WPI of Igoe have got together and spun around. And I think Machitski's going to be out with front left damage. Safety car is out. Rather unsurprised here as we see Morgan Tilbrook off in the background as well. So it's going to be a race of attrition after one lap. A lot of damage on the 63 Lamborghini there, going back to the pits, but that's going to be day done. It's definitely got a front left puncture. The sparks indicate some kind of suspension failure as well, I would suggest. So I think we're definitely one car down, and it all depends on Nick Jones and Igoe if they can get going as well.
Blimey, well, I think Jones is still in the order, although further back than he should be. Igoe I haven't seen, so Igoe could be in the gravel at Redgate. We'll try and clear that up in a moment, but well, I said it would be a dramatic start to the race. I did not anticipate it would be quite that dramatic. I'm hearing that Igoe is still stationary at Redgate Corner, so if they can't get the car started again, they're going to be out of the race, unfortunately. Right then, Joe, what are we seeing?
So I'm seeing a slow start from the number 1 Ballon car. You watch the Bentley actually hits the back of the McLaren there, so that's all we started off the kind of the mood for the turn 1. And as we get this long shot, let's just watch that blue Porsche on the inside is going to be my gut instinct. So he's got a good start initially, Nick Jones. He's got to the inside, so you would have thought he's probably safe, but the cars are full of fuel compared to like in qualifying. They're 80 kilos heavier at least just on fuel. Cold tyres, cold brakes. See a bit of brake dust coming out. It's just outshot. You can actually hear it though, I think. The Porsche just nudging the Lambo, and Igoe's got no hope of saving that. Machitski's an innocent bystander, and the GT4s actually do a really good job to not get involved as we go on board with Igoe. So let's watch this. You won't see too much to his right-hand side. You may just see Loggy come forward under brakes. He'll turn in and listen. Yeah, just hear that noise coming from the rear right. And he's just on side, and then the secondary hit. I can literally hear the pound signs on that second impact. That's not nice to hear. So we're going on board Andrew Howard by the looks of it. See Stuart Proctor get a rocket start. So he's 6th on the grid, but he gets to the inside in front of Ballon, who had that slow start. Then Nick Jones. Can't quite see it, can we? But without definitely saying he's guilty, I can't see how he's innocent. And then that then opens up, and there you see just scampering through. Little Scouse Charm there gets them all the way up to second.
He'd got a few before turn 1 though, I think, Richard, hadn't he? There, you can just see Richard actually in the background. Look, the Mercedes benefits, I think, from this congestion with Morgan Tilbrook and Kelvin Fletcher getting together. Goes to the outside, which you'd think would be the wrong place to be through Redgate, given what's about to happen, and somehow slices and dices his way through. This was on board with Morgan Tilbrook. There's the back end of the shunt. Andrew Howard there, you can see, delayed in the Aston Martin as well. But Joe, this does have potentially huge championship ramifications, because the 63 car was leading the points, the 18 car was third, Johnny Adam, who was between them, Johnny Adam and Andrew Howard, who was between them in second in the points, down in 7th place as well. So there was always the potential, I felt, for this race to really jumble up the championship standings in GT3 and GT4, in fairness. And given what we've seen in the first 5 minutes, I think I'm right. We only have 10 GT3 cars entered this weekend. If you can just finish, you'll get something from your afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. Leo's an interesting character. I've worked with him for quite a few years. I definitely want to be on the wrong side of him. But yeah, Mark Lemmer at Barwell will tell him to basically shut up and get in the car and get some points like you've alluded to. So safety car in, and that is an awful restart from Abba. Considering how great a start he's done, that's the cardinal sin of motorsport. Your safety car restart is the best time to get on the front foot and attack, and that is a huge gap left from Richard Neal. So he'll be kicking himself over that. As we see the GT4s trying to get 3 wide with Morgan Tilbrook now obviously trying to recover the time lost that he had on that off as he went round McLean. So Ginetta on the inside of one of the McLarens. It's going to be an interesting run down there as the McLaren actually GT3-wise scything through the traffic. It's so awkward, that sort of miscommunication. Is GT4 leaving a space, or is he just run wide? So yeah, Morgan, I think, is probably on the erring on the side of caution, as we then see the M4 get down the inside, and depending if we've got the race directors from Red Bull Ring F1, they're going to be giving penalties out left, right and centre for stuff like this.
So that is Matt Topham, who was on the pole and was leading GT4, but interestingly on the timing screen says he was overtaken on the previous lap by John Ferguson and Will Moore, but the previous lap was by the safety car. There's another shunt. The Assetto Ginetta was involved. There was a McLaren in it as well, and I want to say maybe Chris Salkeld in the Century Motorsport BMW. Oh, heavy contact there for the number 90 McLaren there. That's the Balfe Motorsport Ashley Marshall started car. You can see Mark Sansom in the Ginetta and one of the RJN McLarens it was then, so I don't think it was the BMW. And let's see what we can catch of this. It's all sort of happened already, hasn't it? It looks like another one of those sort of first lap, essentially, incidents where one car gets spun and everyone just sort of piles in. Right, GT4, this is more like it. We've got a BMW fighting for the lead. I was wondering how long it'd take us to see this. That is the 57 car up into second place now then. That car was started by Will Burns. He's moved ahead of Will Moore, and he's got John Ferguson in the Toyota ahead of him. And this is all as tight as you like it. Down the exhibition straight they go towards the braking zone at the chicane. The McLaren there just peeking out of line. That was Jordan Collard in the number 2 car. As we ride on board with the Mustang, it's side by side for the GT4 lead though. And up the inside line goes the BMW then, and it looks as though Will Burns is going to take the GT4 lead away from John Ferguson. He does, and the BMW then moves ahead of the number 15 car. We ride again on board with the Toyota this time, that's just lost that lead position as it makes its way up towards the hairpin. Good move that, the BMW just quicker off the chicane.
Oh, as we see Kelvin down the inside of Stuart Proctor, both leaving space. I think it's going to be a drag race. Those Stuarts on the outside, the McLaren's got the drag and now has the inside. It's actually clear of the Bentley, but the Bentley switches back on him, has another look. Oh my God, we don't know where to go. I need more than 2 eyes at the moment, and it has got past. So Jordan's got past. Harry Hayek's trying to follow him through, but he's on the outside. See that Toyota, so much torque up the hill there. Jordan has to go on the defensive. Harry's now on the outside. Will he be left space, or they try to ease him out?
Oh no!
I think it was the latter option. And the Mustang's been caught up, and I think Harry Hayek's been hit pretty hard in terms of all the smoke. The Mustang might be able to get going again, but the Toyota's damaged, leaking fluid everywhere. I've got nothing to say. Everyone's an idiot.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. So the Toyota is out, the Mustang is in the wall, the Harry Hayek McLaren is getting going, but I'd be surprised if it's undamaged. Harry Hayek, let's see when it gets back on the road, it's crabbing, isn't it?
Yeah, suspension. There's a bit of an old wives' tale in motorsport that the fast car doesn't feel good, and there is a kind of logic behind it that fast is a bit safe. And Johnny's, again, as you said, he is feeling the pressure of track limits, but now also a defence, and I think he's probably looking to do exactly what's happened, is back clutting up into Sandy, and his best defence is actually Sandy Mitchell. He's all the way around the outside, he's not going to get that done, and we're going to see the old Ballon look to the outside into turn 1. 58 times, and hopefully one of them works. But those cars are pretty even, aren't they, on acceleration? There's not much between them.
Yeah, and Clutton is not letting him have the inside line, so Mitchell does have to go to the outside. Watch for the exit speed, though. Clutton is clever again, but Mitchell saw it coming, goes to the outside, and there's contact. The Lamborghini sideways. You could see that coming. Clutton was never going to open the inside up, so Mitchell anticipated it, went to the outside, and then Clutton said, oh no, you're not having that side either, and edged him out over the curb and the grass. That almost ended in disaster, and it splits this little pack up now, with Johnny Adam having got away from them. Here's the on-board with
This
Clutton.
will be a great shot here, so we'll see, as you said, Sandy go to the outside. He's got the run. Marcus just takes his road, and he has nowhere to go, and Sandy has to have a big lift out of that. From the rear shot, the exterior shot, we saw the rear actually kick up into the air, so good car control. For me, fair, and that's what racing's about. If the guy in front wants that bit of track, it's his real estate to decide what he wants to do.
We are on to the 76th and final lap of the race. Then Sandy Mitchell at the inside, almost of Clutton there into Redgate Corner. It's all going to boil down to that final set of corners, isn't it? Through the chicane, through the Melbourne hairpin, and then again into Goddard's. But we are half a lap or so away from that yet. Johnny Adam then in third place, Marcus Clutton fourth, Sandy Mitchell in fifth. There are 8 seconds now behind Yelmer Berman up the road through Starkey's. Clutton was a bit scrappy maybe out of the old hairpin, and so Sandy Mitchell is closer to him now than Clutton is to the Aston Martin, but this maybe is the part of the circuit where the McLaren might be a bit stronger. Now, unfortunately, Sam Neary has dominated this race so much that he's almost to the checkered flag, so we're obliged to cut away from that battle to show what is the feel-good story of the season, without a doubt. This team has had nothing but rotten luck all season long so far, and Sam and Richard Neary, we think, are about to become the first ever father-son duo to win a round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. Sam Neary crosses the line, Richard cheers him on from the sidelines, a hugely popular race win.
Yeah, so I was watching the time screen. Mitchell didn't come through sector 2, but he's there, so it's fine. It's last corner. That BMW's just a little bit too far up the road to make it super interesting. And yeah, I mean, all three pros have done a great job there. They haven't traded any paint, haven't made any mistakes, and it's ended up where they kind of started their stints respectively. But hard, fair racing from all three.
Same story really in GT4 for Century Motorsport. As I said, it's going to be another 1-2 finish for Century then, as out of the final corner and across the start-finish line goes Gus Burton, and he and Will Burns will extend their GT4 championship lead, their second victory of the season, and it is the second Century 1-2 that we've had in the first 3 races. Richard and Sam Neary then take the victory from Yelmer Berman and Ian Logie second. Johnny Adam and Andrew Howard third position. Then Morgan Tilbrook and Marcus Clutton for Enduro were fourth. Barwell's number 1 car was fifth ahead of the Proctors, 6th position. Plowman and Fletcher struggled in the end to 7th place. And then into GT4 it was Burns and Burton who led another Century Motorsport 1-2 ahead of Chris Salkeld and Andrew Gordon-Colebrook who win GT4 Pro-Am. Sam and Richard Neary become the first ever father and son combo to win a round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship, and after the torrid season they've had so far, that was a real feel-good story. GT4 was another 1-2 for Century Motorsport, their second of the year.
The 4th round of the season saw the British GT Championship make its annual trip to Belgium and the famous Spa-Francorchamps circuit. The number 63 Lamborghini of Barwell Motorsport, driven by Liam Machitski and Dennis Lind, claimed their first pole position of the year and were desperate to make amends for their early exit at Donington Park. Could they convert pole position into a much-needed race win?
Let's see what happens then for round number 4 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. Through the chicane they come. Liam Machitski on pole, Andrew Howard alongside him, who really, they both just want a clean start to this race. They face the start-finish line then, the red lights will go out, and we will be racing now for 2 hours in the Belgian countryside. Sam Neary, already Richard Neary into the back of Ian Logie. Richard Neary spins in front of the GT4s, he's collected again. There is an enormous shunt, Mia Fluid is involved in it, so unfortunately is Matt Topham, and it has all gone wrong right from the get-go. Logie is wounded too, and that will have unfortunately taken a number of very capable cars out of contention. The Rocket RJN number 3 car is out with damage as well. That's Michael Benyai. Michael Igo looked like he was slow through the first corner too. That is Richard Neary's car. Matt Topham reversing out of the way. completely unnecessary, that, quite frankly, but with a congested start, everyone wants to be on the inside into La Source. You do often get early incidents.
It's a 2-hour race. There is no excuse, is there, for driving standards like that away from the line. It is a 2-hour race. If somebody is slower ahead of you, it's a Formula One with circuit. It's not a narrow Alton Park Brands Hatch type circuit. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of damaged cars now. We've lost, very definitely, the Neri Mercedes. There is debris all over the road. We've got the safety car, as you see. It would not be a surprise if the cars now came through the pit lane while the circuit is cleared. There's another incident involving the number 15 Toyota that is under investigation.
Okay.
I'll come back to you on that, but we're about to go racing.
We are indeed. Into the pit lane comes the safety car. Out of the chicane goes Leo Machitski, and that is a good restart for the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. He's already gapped Andrew Howard and Stuart Proctor, who will battle for second. Over a bit of cement dust that's been laid down on the start-finish line. Michael Igoe can now pass Will Burns for position, for fourth place there, and Adam Ballon trying to do the same. Now let's keep an eye then on the red Lamborghini in fourth place. We're on board with it now. Michael Igoe, we hope, has not sustained any damage. He'll have had a bit of a chance during that safety car period just to feel the car out, weave around, put some loads into the front suspension. But now he attacks Radion at speed for the first time, not on the ideal racing line, it must be said. But touch wood, all seems okay.
Number 15 Toyota quickly is being looked at for an out-of-position start. So there's a lot going on at the start, but that might have been out of position.
Ashley Marshall closes in. Is that McLaren better on the brakes than the BMW? He thinks about the inside. Very, very sideways under braking there for Will Burns. Does he get the car stopped? He does. The McLaren, though, is a bit more nimble, a bit more agile. Comes off the corners well and tries to get the run down to La Source corner. But the 57 BMW just about hangs on then. So Will Burns, twice a winner already. Ashley Marshall looking for his first win. Goes to the inside, goes to the outside at La Source. And again, looks for the over-under. Tries to get the switchback off the turn and get the run down to the bottom of the hill, which he might just have done. They are level then as they go past the old pits, side by side towards Eau Rouge, and it's going to be the nose ahead for the McLaren. And if Will Burns is sensible, he'll bail out of this, which he does. Change them for the lead in GT4, and it is Ashley Marshall at the wheel of the number 90 Balf Motorsport car that goes through. But then Burns immediately gets the run back on him, heading up the Kemmel Straight.
And the grunt of the BMW will tell then. So the former Ginetta racer in the McLaren under attack from another former Ginetta racer and champion, Will Burns, on the outside line in number 57 BMW. He's not quite going to be able to make that move because he's on the longer line. But you can see the way that the car has the grunt up the hill and how he got the toe as well. But that McLaren, normally with good aero, ultimately ended up helping the BMW to stay in the battle. But now through the corners of Bruxelles and down through Speaker's Corner, turn 11, is that going to be an opportunity for that McLaren to edge away? Let us see as they go down through Bruxelles. Well, for the moment, certainly Will Burns is not dropping away. He's staying right on the tail of the McLaren. So the gap is down again under braking. More track limit warnings are coming now. One for Sandy Mitchell, one for Ross Gunn as they press on and use all of the real estate. Darren Turner using all of the real estate as well. Sandy Mitchell is almost up on the tail of Ross Gunn now, so there's going to be a change imminent for fourth. There's a change imminent for the GT4 lead then as Darren Turner tries to force the issue at Bruxelles. But he can't do it there. Downhill they will plunge now. He wants the inside line coming out of Speaker's Corner, line it up for Pouin. So the move starts now. Is he going to be able to dive up the inside? No, Jack Brown defends the inside line. But Darren Turner is brave enough to have a go on the outside. Is this going to work? This is really, really, really brave stuff. It's the longer line, it's the slower line, it's the braver line, and then it'll become the inside line for the Piff Paff, and Darren Turner stands his ground right the way around the outside of the McLaren. He's going to get the job done under braking for Piff Paff. Fantastic. That is how you take a place. Brilliant stuff.
And full credit to Jack Brown as well. He didn't even consider squeezing Darren over the curb on the exited Pouin. He realised that he'd lost the position, he'd lost the fight, there was no need to force the issue. Now we can switch to this then. This is fourth place, so I asked the question a lap or so ago, how much time would Ross Gunn lose to Sandy Mitchell? Well, all of it is the answer, because Sandy is right on his tail now, and Ross Gunn, who's frustrated after the speeding penalty and the extra visit to the pit lane, and he's being warned about track limits, Sandy Mitchell needs to use all of that now to his advantage to try and find a way past the Aston. Dennis Lind, 44 seconds left on the clock then. That Mitchell penalty, by the way, won't make a huge difference because he's last in GT3 anyway of those that are running on the lead lap, but it does mean that Ross Gunn could sort of wave him by now if he wanted to. Doesn't have to fight the fight too hard. 30 seconds on the clock though for Dennis Lind. Comes out through Paul Frere. It's actually going to be touch and go. This might even be the final lap, I think, for the Barwell Motorsport car. It's going to be tight, but I think with that Milner car still in a dangerous position, they're going to be in a bit of a hurry to get the checkered flag out. So
he could just back off, couldn't he? I mean,
yeah.
You don't need to go flat out. Take your time.
No, exactly. I think the time will just run out, I think. He's nice and early on the brakes. He's going very, very cautiously through the yellow flag zone at the final chicane. And so finally, Dennis Lind is going to do it. He's going to get a victory in the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. He slides in celebration out of the chicane. And he and Leo Machitski, we think, are provisionally the championship leaders as they win at Spa-Francorchamps. Round number 4 of the British GT Championship goes to Barwell Motorsport, and Leo Machitski is delighted.
Understandably so. Great character, Leo Machitski, and finally Dennis Lind comes good. I know I get excited about him, but he's a spectacular driver to watch. He's very, very quick, and he's a good character as well. He's a real asset to British GT. No longer a Lamborghini factory driver, but Mark Lemmer decided he was exactly the right person to come into the championship for a full season, and Dennis has repaid the faith, hasn't he?
Darren Turner still hasn't served this penalty, clearly isn't going to now, so they're going to argue the toss after the race, and that means that, well, Jack Brown here is going to not win on the road, but might end up inheriting a victory afterwards once all is said and done with this penalty. More cars coming across the line. There goes Matt Cowley ahead of Andrew Gordon-Colebrook, so that is 4th and 5th in GT4. Gus Burton has already been through to finish 3rd, and that for Century Motorsport is another good result for the 57 car. They have been off the podium only once so far this year, and they can now add a 3rd place finish, a 3rd place finish to their 2 wins they already have. So we think this will be the win for the number 90 Balf Motorsport McLaren then as they head across the start-finish line then. A brilliant weekend all round really for this squad. Balf Motorsport's GT4 programme finally starting to pick up a bit of pace, and whilst the Rocket RJN McLarens have also been quick, they've been a bit more accident prone and a bit more unfortunate, continuing there with Katie Milner retiring late in the race, whereas Balf have managed to avoid most of that trouble and may end up with a race win out of it.
And the provisional results, underline provisional, look like this.
Yes, no doubt really about Machitski and Lind, the winners. Then they get their first victory in British GT together and move themselves into championship contention once more. Michael Igoe and Phil Keane making a Lamborghini 1-2 for WPI Motorsport there in second, with the Proctors having a quiet second half of the race, but managing to get themselves on the podium as well. Ross Gunn and Andrew Howard survived a penalty to finish 4th, whilst Adam Ballon and Sandy Mitchell were 5th. Then in GT4, it is provisionally Jack Brown and Ashley Marshall that take the victory for Balf Motorsport. Darren Turner and Matt Topham after that late penalty are second, ahead of Will Burns and Gus Burton, but not by a huge amount. Matt Cowley and Will Moore 4th for Academy. Then it was the second Century car, Gordon Colebrook and Chris Salkeld, with Richard Williams and Senan Fielding, the last car that was still running competitively at the end. So that is it then from another dramatic round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. As I said, we're more or less halfway through the season now. The double headers begin next in another 2 weeks, the 7th and 8th of August. We're at the Snetterton 300 circuit in the southeast of England. Those double headers with 2 one-hour sprint races over the course of the day. Always really exciting, and they always have a strong bearing on the championship outcome. Congratulations to our winners then here today, Barwell Motorsport and Balf Motorsport getting the wins in GT3 and GT4 respectively. It's been an entertaining 2 hours of racing here at Spa. We hope to see you back again next time as the British GT Championship heads to Snetterton.
Welcome everyone to part 2 of the season highlights for the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. In part 1, we enjoyed some excellent action from the first 4 races of the year at Brands Hatch, the Silverstone 500, the first of the 2 visits to Donington Park, and the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium. Next up, we moved into the double header events, firstly at the Snetterton circuit, where the British summer would do its bit to add a further element of unpredictability to the campaign.
Highlights of round number 5 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. Ahmed Al Harvey started on pole position in the bright sunshine at the Snetterton 300 circuit, with Kelvin Fletcher slotting into second and SRO Motorsports Morgan Tilbrook in third position. It was, mercifully, a clean start, not only for the GT3 but also for the GT4 field, who were being led in the early stages by the number 3 McLaren, which had started on pole position. That car started by Alain Vallant. On board look there from Sandy Mitchell, who did not get a great start from the GT3 ranks. Andrew Howard went to the right and he got swamped and really spent the rest of the race trying to fight back. Contact then between Richard Williams and Matt Topham put Williams out with damaged suspension in the Audi, and the GT3 battle was as close as you like it in the early stages. With a healthy lead in GT4, unfortunately, trouble was on the horizon for Vallant with a puncture. Then there was contact between Michael Igoe and Kelvin Fletcher as they battled for second just before the pit window opened. In they came. Luckily, WPI were able to use this as an opportunity to fix the front of the car, but the Lamborghini still lost time with that, coupled with the success penalty they had to serve. In came the 27 and 40. They would have contact in the second part of the race, whilst the success penalty for the 57 BMW that inherited the GT4 lead put them behind car number 2 in second place in the GT4 class. In the second stint, it was really all about Dennis Lind, who drove past Jelmer Berman as Jelmer slowed with a slow puncture. Off went Matt Cowley in the number 61 Ford Mustang. He had a spin up at Coram, and then Marcus Clutton was handed a drive-through penalty for a pit lane infringement. He ignored it and was eventually given the black flag. Dennis Lind and Sandy Mitchell were having a brilliant Barwell Motorsports scrap. Eventually the mistake came from Mitchell. He ran wide, Lind got him at the Wilson hairpin and then set about getting past Johnny Adam. Scott McKenna seized third place away in the GT4 class from Harry Hyatt with a brilliant move around the outside at Coram, and then he started to attack Will Burns. Will Burns was making that the widest BMW GT4 in existence. Al Harvey and Eastwood though won in GT3 ahead of Martin Plowman and Kelvin Fletcher, and in GT4 it was the Rocket RJM McLaren that took the victory.
I've talked about the top 3 getting pit stop times and discussed that in the context of GT3. GT4, Andy, not only do we have 10 seconds for number 2 McLaren, 7 for 57 BMW and 5 for the Toyota, but if you're a silver partnership, there's an extra 14 seconds to factor in as well, including number 2 McLaren. So 24 seconds for that, 21 in total for BMW number 57. What we have on the grid could be a very different order from the result in GT4.
Having said that, though, in the previous race, the top 2 GT4 finishers were Silver Cup entrants, so they overcame that 14 seconds, even though the second stint of the race was less than half an hour in length. So they can do it, but can they, particularly in the shape of the 2 and 57 cars that finished first and second in GT4 last time, they will also have their success penalties added on. That might just be a little bit too much to ask of them, and so the likes of Assetto Motorsport and Newbridge Motorsport, who make up the GT4 front row, success penalty free, and they're both Pro-Am cars, so none of that 14-second extra in the pit lane. So I know it's easy to say because they're on the front row, but they have to start as the favourites.
Indeed so. Well, so does Dennis Lind, assuming they can paddle their way around the first few corners. Now, we should be fine, shouldn't we? It's the pros doing the first stint, it says here. What could go wrong? But if anybody can cope with the conditions, like I said a few minutes ago, it will be the pro drivers. Dennis Lind versus Jelmer Berman, Johnny Adam versus Sandy Mitchell. I mean, it's going to be a really, really good fight, this, over the first few laps of the race, because, as ever, the Intelligent Money British GT Championship lacks for nothing in terms of the quality of driver, does it? You've got some real stars up there.
Yeah, absolutely, and year after year these professional, often works drivers come and race in the championship, and they really do elevate the profile of what is already a hugely exciting series.
So we're set to go racing then. It is a 60-minute sprint. The pace car, as it is, peels into the pit lane. The cars get themselves in the requisite side-by-side formation ready for the start. The race director will give the command, and who is it going to be that makes the best start then? It's Dennis Lind on pole position. It's Jelmer Berman in the Mercedes alongside. We go racing. A better start by Sandy Mitchell than Johnny Adam there from the second row of the grid, and they lean on each other for the race lead. Dennis Lind on the inside line, Jelmer Berman on the outside, finds more grip and goes through, goes wide, but comes out ahead, and that was a really brave and a really good move by Jelmer Berman. Look back from Dennis Lynn. This is what powerboating looks like. And Dennis Lynn losing out to Burman, who goes deep into the Wilson hairpin. And a really good start has been made look by Charlie Eastwood, because he's jumped ahead of Johnny Adams' Aston Martin. So Charlie Eastwood up from 6th on the grid. Ooh. And there's drama there. And I'm afraid that's Scott McKenna and Charlie Robertson and also Jake Giddings in the Mercedes all getting involved.
Yeah, it looked like McKenna went very wide. Oh, and that's off is Martin Plowman then in the Bentley. I was about to say he'd had a really good start, gaining a couple of places before turn 1, but off he goes through Palmer's. Yeah, Scott McKenna went very, very wide at the Wilson hairpin, and as he tried to come off the corner, there was just a big squeeze. They were already 2 or 3 wide up the inside of him. That gives Darren Turner then, I think, the GT4 lead.
Jake Giddings, I think, has parked the Mercedes in the background, and there is Martin Plowman struggling on in the Bentley. Now, whether that was an off or he had a bit of help, we'll wait and see, as in the meantime there, Scott Malvin in the Porsche is on a charge and going strongly. He's about to try to make a move up against Phil Keane, and there's drama there. We've lost a McLaren, haven't we?
Yeah, I think that's Enduro, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's Marcus Clutton that's had a spin, and there's an Aston Martin off, which looks like Darren Turner. Yes, it is. Darren Turner off from the lead of GT4 as well. I know you said that the pros are in the car and they should be able to handle the conditions, but that shows how slippery it is.
It does indeed, and how everybody is pushing and how cold the tyres still are and how wet it is out there. So if you lose a place on the opening lap, better than losing the lot, isn't it? Now, look, Dennis Linder's got himself back up the order, but Jelmer Burman, that was a mega move, wasn't it, to lead the race. This is the view then on board from Sandy Mitchell's car, currently running in 4th place as they come round. Coram, drivers discovering just how much or little grip there is, and it may well be that we get yellow flags back up the Wilson hairpin. But Darren Turner is wise enough to know exactly what he should be doing, so he'll do his best to go after a GT3 car, but he can't necessarily stay with him because it's a slower type of car. So Jelmer Burman then does sprint away, and Dennis Lind has to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and the gap extends hugely as over the line goes Jelmer Burman. And there'll be some Danish naughty words inside the Lamborghini, where the Dennis Lynn now blasts ahead of the GT4 Aston. And what's the margin? 3.6 seconds. Eastwood clears Darren Turner, so also there does Sandy Mitchell. And Dennis Lynn goes wide. Lynn loses it briefly down at turn 1. He's lost 2nd place. He's going to lose 3rd as well. So in his zealotry to clear the traffic, Dennis Lynn drops back into 4th position there.
Doesn't strike me as a particularly hot-headed character, but I think maybe a bit of frustration there leading to that little mistake at Rich's corner. The time that he lost to Jelmer Burton, he was 3.6 seconds behind Jelmer at the restart. That is astonishing. Through Palmer's he goes, though. At least he's still in the race. There goes Greg Caton, meanwhile, dicing away with Lewis Proctor. That is for 7th place within the GT3 ranks. Out of Palmer's they go. They both negotiate the Aston Martin, while Sandy Mitchell tries to do the same for position, that is, though, for 3rd place against... for 2nd place now against Charlie Eastwood. I don't think he quite made that one stick, but the Lamborghinis looking pretty strong here, aren't they? They're ganging up here on Eastwood.
A 10-second stop-go penalty for number 33, Greg Caton, for causing a collision. That, I think, was against Marcus Klassen on the first lap, because an incident between 33 and 77 was being looked at. So Greg Caton given a 10-second stop-go for causing a collision, and it's a broken rear damper on the Toyota, says Christian Dick, the team principal that's put that car out of the race. As again, Sandy Mitchell has a go on the inside line coming out of the hairpin. That's the outside line for turn 3. It's a grippier outside line, and it still doesn't work.
Eastwood got his elbows out there, didn't he? He knew exactly what was coming. If Mitchell had stayed alongside, he'd have been quicker off the corner. He is still quicker off the corner, and again forces Eastwood to defend. Now, is that the right move, though? Because this time Mitchell's got that grippier outside line, but Eastwood knows exactly where to place the car. Runs a bit too wide, though, and Mitchell's up the inside and through. Brilliant stuff, Sandy Mitchell. He really had to work for that, but that was good racing between the two. Good defensive driving from Eastwood without being too robust in his defence, and really great patient attacking driving from Sandy Mitchell. Exactly what you'd expect from him, really. Bryn Lucas is lingering around the Balfe Motorsport garage, and they won't tell him what they're doing. Well, we're going to find out now, because that car is in as well, the Proctors, and that is Lewis getting out, Stewart getting in. And yeah, I think if you're going to pit early, then you have to sort of commit to staying on wets, don't you? It's those that are waiting it out that are the ones more likely to change. And speaking of changing, that is Lind for 3rd place on the outside of Eastwood. Although he was on the best side of the road, he couldn't make it stick, as now, look, the rain's back.
Absolutely right. And so Dennis Lind goes to the outside and almost runs out of road there. we're celebrating 70 years of Snetterton, which used to be a rallycross circuit, and you're about to see more of it. So down they come, side by side then, and now the Lamborghini on the outside line, down towards Brundle and Nelson. On the inside line is the Aston Martin. It's going to be the last of the late breakers. The title line is claimed by Eastwood, but the place is claimed by Dennis Lynn. Fantastic, right round the outside. He has worked hard for that third place. Lots of arm twirling inside the cockpit as he tries to straighten it up, but Dennis Lind goes third. Sandy Mitchell is still closing on the race leader, and now Dennis Lind released, goes after him as in comes the leading car. Then at the end of lap 14, Jelmer Burman is in, and what is going to happen for Sandy Mitchell? He's got to come in because we're only about 30 seconds away from the window closing, so they're all going to dive in now.
I may not be able to predict the weather, or indeed what tyres you should be on, but Nick Halstead is leading in GT4, which I did think might be the case, by not very much though over Will Burns. That GT4 battle we're watching here, in fact they were overlapping out of the Wilson hairpin. That's for the lead in the GT4 class. So this is the two McLarens at play for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th place in class, but about 5 or so seconds up the road. Look, there are the top two in GT4. So Nick Halstead, in his first season of GT racing really, certainly at this level, trying to fend off Will Burns, the championship leader. He looks to the inside into Agostini, but is there any grip on the inside? That's the question. Gets his nose ahead, gets across the nose of the McLaren. Change of lead in GT4.
Indeed so, but is there any chance of that McLaren coming back? Well, we have a stop-and-go penalty now being applied for 57. So, having just taken over the lead of the class, I said there was an investigation brewing. It was for being too short on the pit stop, so it's a stop-go penalty for number 57 BMW. It has just taken over the lead, and bang, suddenly it has got to make another stop, and then a go. So stop-go penalty will drop it down in class. The regulation time is 100 seconds plus for that car, 21. The data is there. It rates a beam at pit in, a beam at pit out, and if it's under the requisite number, you're back to rights, aren't you? There are lots of different reasons why Machitski needs to defend like crazy here. One is to bank points, the other, and he's not going to do it for much longer. At half he does his Demon Coram line again, right round the outside to gain the place before turn 12. I was about to say, as Machitski tries to come back at him, the other reason was to keep a car between himself and championship rival Andrew Howard, but the Aston has cleared him. Liam Machitski tries to get the power down in a straight line and almost comes back level as they cross the timing line. The Lamborghini will have its nose in front just as they go down towards turn 1. But he can't go round the outside, and he's lucky in a way that he could just about cut across the front of Andrew Howard. But now Andrew will have seen all of that, and he's looking to try to gain the place. A pit lane incident involving the number 40, Jamie Stanley, Nick Halstead McLaren, to be investigated after the race. What about the chances of Ram Racing now with the doubleheader at Alton Park and then the Donington Decider still to come? Are they going to be able to get back into the championship assault? Well, right now, a race win is on the cards. Ian Logie being mindful of the traffic, being mindful of the track conditions, but a very, very impressive drive this by Ian Logie. He's not put a wheel out of line, he's just quietly got on with it, built on that great first stint by Jelmer Burman, and so Ian Logie leads down towards Brundle and Nelson for the last time, clearing the back markers. In second place, Adam Ballon in the first sector is slower this time. That could be the back markers. Look, again, Logie desperately tries to find somewhere that's got grip, but also can cool the tyres down. He comes towards bomb hole for the last time. It's going to be beautifully timed, this. The flag is imminent, and now, having had heavy rain just before the start, sunshine to round out the second race of the day for the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. And Ian Logie fights the car round Coram, sets it up now to come down towards the last left of the lap, turns it in, keeps it off the wet painted curb, now accelerates up towards the timing line, and it is going to be a dominant win for Ram Racing for Jelmer Burman and Ian Logie, who comes up towards the checkered flag. Ian Logie and Jelmer Burman win at Snetterton in race 2 of the day. Second across the line is Adam Ballon and Sandy Mitchell, 4.6 seconds back, and third, Michael Igoe with Phil Keane. Fastest lap on the last lap of the race, 2 minutes 1.592, proof that the road was getting ever drier. So Michael Igoe, a really, really impressive stint. And so for Academy Motorsport, Will Moore will bring it home after that good first stint by Matt Cowley. But you can see the way the gaps have come down for second and third in the class there, because as Will Moore and Matt Cowley win in GT4, second over the line will be Chris Solkelt and Andrew Gordon-Colebrook. That car that started last on the grid, don't forget, as a very happy Matt Cowley is on the pit wall. And for third is the number 3 McLaren started by Michael Benyaya and brought home by Alain Vallon. But a very happy Academy Motorsports team, and Andy Dean there with the headset on, applauding everybody as they have done it. The Mustang comes home victorious. But let's have a look at the overall results. Oh no, let's have a look at GT4 then, shall we? Matt Cowley is the joint winner with Will Moore in GT4, and in second in the class, Chris Solkelt and Andrew Gordon-Colebrook. This is how overall looks. Yelmer Berman and Ian Loggy, the race winners, ahead of Sandy Mitchell and Adam Ballon, with Phil Keane and Michael Igoe in third. Alman Harthy and Charlie Eastwood fourth, from Leo Machitski and Dennis Lind. Leo fending off Andrew Howard to the very end, Andrew sharing with Johnny Adam. The Proctors were seventh. After the penalty, Plowman and Fletcher eighth. After the penalty, Jennings and Caton were ninth. And then, here's one I prepared earlier. The GT4 winners, Matt Cowley and Will Moore, ahead of Chris Solkelt and Andrew Gordon-Colebrook. Alain Vallon and Michael Benyaya taking third in GT4, 12th overall, ahead of Jordan Collard and James Kell. And then after their penalty, Will Burns and Gus Burton, 14th, Nick Halstead and Jamie Stanley, 15th overall. Harry Hayek and Katie Milner, 16th, ahead of Jack Brown and Ashley Marshall, with then we have Morgan Tilbrook and Marcus Clatton delayed early on, and Matt Topp and Darren Turner also 3 laps down. We lost the Team Parker Porsche, the Ginetta, the Toyota and the Sicily Mercedes all very early in the race. But for an overall win, Ian Loggy and Yelmer Berman are victorious. They can finally celebrate. For now, though, that's it from Snatterton. Thanks for your company today. From Andy McEwen and David Addison, it's goodbye from us. And we'll leave you at the end of a weekend at which we have said farewell to former British GT race director Bernard Cottrell.
Next up was an event which is always popular with the fans, even on its later than usual autumnal date for 2021. The immensely challenging Alton Park circuit in Cheshire would host the second to last event of the season, and with every point now crucial to those teams in championship contention, it was set to be a pivotal pair of races. In fact, there was even a chance that our first champions of 2021 could be crowned in GT4, so it was now or never for the teams hoping to prevent that from happening. Let's dive into the highlights for the first of 2 dramatic races at Alton Park.
It was the Calvin Fletcher Bentley that held on to the lead in GT3 into Old Hall Corner, whilst further back, the 57 BMW of Gus Burton managed to wrestle the lead away from Matt Topham within GT4. There was drama up at the Island Hairpin for the number 4 McLaren. That ran wide through the gravel trap, and then a lap or so later, Ian Loggy rammed into the back of the Leo Machitski Lamborghini. Damage was done, but the place didn't change hands. That was kind of the story over the next 10 minutes or so, as Loggy tried to make progress past the Lamborghini, whilst the Lamborghini's teammate car was making progress there, with Adam Ballon getting past the Porsche into Island Bend. Then a spin for the third place McLaren of Morgan Tilbrook sent Michael Igoe bouncing across the grass at Cascades. He rejoined, but behind the 63 car, with lots of time lost, but thankfully no damage done. The battle was intense as the whole queue of cars got congested behind the 63 car, and then as the GT3 leaders were side by side, there was contact amongst the GT4 cars ahead, and that ultimately cost Calvin Fletcher the race lead. Then Ian Loggy in his second bit of Lamborghini contact, side-to-side contact there with Igoe. Somehow Igoe collected it. There was an unsafe release investigated as the Lewis Proctor McLaren was released into the path of Phil Keane, whilst in GT4 the 61 Academy Mustang was a podium contender before a starter motor failure in the pit window. After the pit stops were complete then for GT3, there was a mistake down at the chicane for Martin Plowman, which almost cost him a spot on the podium, whilst the 57 car that had been leading GT4 came back out in second after the pit stops. Side by side over the top of the hill, Dennis Lind was on a mission. Twice he tried to get himself ahead of Plowman, eventually making the move stick into Old Hall Corner, whilst there was an issue for the number 9 car, Andrew Gordon-Colebrook into the side of Jack Brown, the BMW out on the spot, and that had big championship ramifications. Towards the end of the race, it was all about the fight for second place. Dennis Ling was comfortably the fastest driver on the track, but try as he might, he could not find a way past Sam Neary, who defended brilliantly and at times relied on the traffic to help him out as well. The two circulated together, though, for much of the final third of the race, whilst further back, Charlie Robertson was making some progress, passing Alan Vallant, I should say, through Cascades Corner. Tom Onslow Cole brought the 88 car across the line to win, with Sam Neary second, though, and third for Dennis Lind.
So Scott Mulvern versus Dennis Lind. The second row of the grid, Sandy Mitchell lining up alongside Jelmer Berman. It's going to be a fantastic fight, I would have thought. And also keep an eye on the race one winner, Tom Onslow Cole. We've got the weather, we've got the pit stop penalties to factor into this as well. And so for round 8 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship at Alton Park, it is go. They blast away. And now the hearted mouth moment comes as they go diving down towards Old Hall Corner for the first time. And Sandy Mitchell dives up the inside of Dennis Lind as they turn into the corner. But it is Scott Mulvern then, who is away clear in the lead of the race. They blast downhill now. The spray hangs in the air. Porsche versus Lamborghini. It is Mulvern ahead. Lind second. Mitchell is third. And then Jelmer Berman is fourth.
And in GT4, for the second race in a row, it's the car that starts second that gets the lead. Look, because Jamie Caroline is actually mixing it with some of the tail enders in GT3. Such was his rapid start. So Caroline leads in GT4. The GT3 leaders, though, descend upon the shell area of the circuit. And Scott Mulvern in the Porsche that he reckoned would be good in these conditions. So far, living up to those expectations. He's pulling away, I would say, from Lind in the first half a lap.
Yes, so he's got the visibility, which is going to help, but Dennis Lind going after him, wants points, needs the win, rattles over the curbs. So also does Jelmer Berman here, as the field accelerates up over hilltop. Look back, GT4, that good start by Jamie Caroline is there, but you've got number 8, Mercedes of Sam Neary, trying to hustle its way up the order. So Mulvern leads into his lops. Dennis Lind riding the curb in second spot. Mitchell third, Berman fourth. In fifth place is Marcus Clutton. There's another live wire around here. Sixth is Tom Onslow Cole there. Seventh it is Phil Keane. Eighth is Neary. And there Jamie Caroline goes through ahead of Darren Turner, and a rather understeery BMW was next, wasn't it? Gus Burton fighting the M4 as they went up through Knickerbrook.
He was up to third there, wasn't he? Ahead of Senna Fielding, so he'd gained a place. Did he hold on to it though? Because it looked as though one of the McLarens, maybe Jordan Collard, was challenging him after that moment. On board with Phil Keane then. Tom Onslow Cole ahead of us. This is the battle going into Lodge Corner. As around the outside goes the Lamborghini. Can he find the traction? The wide line should be the grippier side of the road. He's certainly quicker off the corner, gets alongside Onslow Cole. This will give him the inside line for Old Hall Corner, which he can't actually see just now, but it's somewhere in the distance. Here it is, and through on the inside should go Phil Keane. Onslow Cole now retaliate on the exit. He gets a better exit from the corner and might try and challenge again into Cascades. Lind to the outside of Mulvern. There might be grip on the outside. Where's Mitchell in all of this as well? He's on the inside of his teammates, side by side for second place. The Barwell Lamborghini's dead level over the line, and they both have a bit of a run on the Porsche ahead.
And to the inside line, Sandy Mitchell. He's got the line for the corner. He should get second place. He does. He goes through. And also, Marcus Clutton has just gone ahead of Jelmer Berman. So behind all of this, as Lind fights back, the Lamborghinis come almost side by side down towards Cascades. Sandy Mitchell has done it, and behind them the change for fourth has happened as well. So now you've got up into fourth place Marcus Clutton ahead of Jelmer Berman. So Sandy Mitchell now takes up the cudgels on behalf of Barwell to go after Scott Mulvern. If he can crack Dennis Lind, can he crack Mulvern before the stops?
I think Mitchell is the quicker of the two. The way that he was pressuring Lind up until that point, he caught him pretty rapidly, even before Dennis was in the spray properly of the Porsche ahead. So I reckon Mitchell might just have the pace here, but it's just so difficult to get past. If he can stay with Mulvern, though, there's always a chance in traffic. Mulvern right up on two wheels. Lind continuing to abuse the curbs there through the chicane at Britain's, but he can see his teammate getting away. And that, I'm afraid, is Tom Onslow Cole, who is off at Ireland, and he's beached in the gravel.
Look at the spray there. You cannot see a car. They all disappear into the gloom. Yellow flags, yellow lights at this section of the circuit at Island Bend. And as the race leaders come through, we now go safety car. So, as expected, later than expected, but as expected, we go safety car. And now, of course, the safety car team have got to try and pick up a leader, and would be no surprise if people now try to exploit that.
Yeah, well, we're going to see a flurry of activity now. They have to pit. If you don't, then you're going to end up finding yourself right at the back of the lead lap queue. So we're on board then with Lind. He's heading over hilltop, so the teams have about half a lap then to prepare for this. There is the safety car, which has no one to collect right now because everyone's at the far end of the circuit. In fact, the first car it's going to find is going to be the Bentley, isn't it? Because Martin Plowman comes across the line now, doesn't pit, and he is about to be collected by that BMW safety car. The rest of them, though, I'm sure, will be making their way into the pit lane this time around. it's a free pit stop, essentially, pitting behind the safety car. You lose significantly less time than if you do it under green flag conditions, but as everyone's coming anyway, it makes relatively little difference. I think there are no exceptions to the rule this time. Everybody in GT3 heading in. Their look is Johnny Adam to hand over to Andrew Howard. Who gets out first, though? That's the real question. We're anticipating it should be this car if all things are equal, but we saw in the last race, didn't we, some teams having quicker pit stops than others.
Yeah, of course. With the pit stops to a set time, line to line, it's not quite as beneficial as it would be in a natural race, but I think number 6 Mercedes is going to come out of this pretty well also, look, because that's at the pit out end. So where's Lamborghini number 1? It's going to be the Mercedes that jumps them all, isn't it? So Yelmer Berman came in 5th, and Ian Logie will go out in the lead of the race. Now, and there, look, Phil Keen's car, now Michael Igoe goes up to 2nd. So what's happened to Barwell? Because the Mitchell Ballon car, your prediction, has had a really bad stop, relatively speaking, and fallen a long way down. Now, either that means that others have undercut the pit stop, which can happen, or another team has made a really bad pit stop, but that's not the order we expected.
Yeah, that minimum pit stop time for GT3 is 65 seconds. There's quite a lot to do in that 65 seconds, so it's not unheard of for them to go over that time, and I wonder if that's what happened with Barwell. I did also spot that Ian Logie, who got out first, was very, very slow on his way out of the pit lane, because remember, that minimum pit stop time is measured from line to line. It's not the stationary time, it's the time from the pit entry line to the pit exit line. If you think you've anticipated it a bit too much, you can sometimes just slow down to make sure you don't leave too soon.
Into GT4, McLaren's at play as they battle their way through. James Kell ahead of Michael Benyard. Then you've got Will Burns, and next up Mark Sanson. So that's for the lead, the McLarens of Kell and Benyard, and John Ferguson there losing out, because up on the inside of him goes Chris Solkel. Now, they crossed swords at Brands Hatch, remember, at the start of the season, but the Supra, I'm afraid, is slipping down the order. Admittedly, these are not ideal conditions, but John Ferguson is struggling, and off the road goes Neary, and bang into the tyre barrier. Richard Neary off the road. Our cameraman stands his ground about as bravely as he possibly can, thinking that's a big heavy car heading my way. But Richard Neary is back on the road, but he will have cost himself time and places.
Yeah, so he was challenging, wasn't he, for that fourth place at the time, but unfortunately has made a mistake by the looks of it up at the hairpin. This is the car that he was attacking. I see no evidence of new damage on the back of the 63 car, so I don't think they made contact, but we'll see if we can get that confirmed. And of course that now promotes Ian Logie back up the place, doesn't it? Because Logie had rejoined the circuit after his penalty in 6th, so he was the next car behind these two.
Right now, looking very, very strong here is Will Burns as he comes up to attack James Kell. So the one-time touring car racer commits to the inside line as they come down towards Old Hall Corner. This for GT4 Honours. The BMW should get the job done. It's got the tighter line. It's got the lead. Through goes Will Burns. James Kell's getting it hung out to dry on the outside over the curb. And Will Burns has done it, and they are delighted at Century Motorsport. Nathan Freak puts an arm around Gus Burton because they know that unless the car drops off the racetrack, that is the championship done and dusted. Race control confirming to us that this is the last lap. 27 seconds on the clock up through the approach to Druids. There's confirmation on the screen. So Michael Igoe, who really only has one setting, and that is to really push, is underlining it, but the flag is imminent, and so heading then towards the end of the 8th round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. They won at the start of the year, but it's been a long time between wins for Michael Igoe and Phil Keen. But the Lamborghini comes down towards Lodge Corner. A soggy checkered flag is at the ready. And after another very eventful race at Donington Park, Michael Igoe and Phil Keen win in the Lamborghini run by WPI Motorsport. A really good drive in pretty horrible conditions. In GT4, they come pouring over the line with Will Moore ahead of Ashley Marshall, ahead of Michael Benyard, then Harry Hayek and Richard Williams, the Audi, falling away as well. Adam Ballon has just come through to take 2nd place, and Ian Logie set for 3rd for Ram Racing, the squad, the team, Ram Racing, that won the earlier race. Ian Logie comes through, but for his drive-through penalty, it could have been a very different story. Now, what about GT4, Andy? The top two have not yet got home.
No, they haven't actually, have they? Will Burns had a 3.4 second lead over James Kell going on to what was their final lap, and all he needs to do is bring it home now, and they will be provisionally your GT4 champions. Here they are. Look, he actually doesn't have to finish the race, because even if this car didn't finish, the 9 car had to win, but they'll want to bring it home with a race win, with their 3rd checkered flag of the 2021 season. And this is a rare occurrence then. Not for, what was it, about 6 years have we had a British GT champion crowned before finals day. But out of Lodge Corner then comes Will Burns, and he and Gus Burton and the Century Motorsports squad are provisionally your GT4 champions. Across the line they go, and I think they will be very, very happy with that. The smile says it all.
Absolutely. A delighted Gus Burton. Nathan Freak, who of course runs the team with his father Clive, race winner himself in single-seaters as well as in GT cars, but that's a really good job done, and it further strengthens the case, if you like, for Century with BMW UK, because of course BMW looks at touring cars, but after the success that Century has had, they could do worse than look at GT4 racing as well.
And GT4, we've said this year a few times, is really starting to take off now. You look across Europe and GT4 is sort of becoming the category to be in, and yeah, it would be really nice to get some manufacturer involvement.
So let's have a look at the provisional result then. There are one or two incidents still being looked at, but Phil Keane and Michael Igoe win at Alton Park from Sandy Mitchell and Adam Ballon. Ian Logie and Jelmer Burman are third ahead of Dennis Lind and Leo Machitski, with Scott Malvern and Nick Jones clear of Morgan Tilbrook and Marcus Clatton. GT4 won by Will Burns and Gus Burton from Jordan Collard and James Kell. Will Moore and Matt Cowley coming home in third place. So a Lamborghini 1-2, different teams, Mercedes 3, Lamborghini 4, Porsche 5, McLaren 6, and BMW coming out on top in GT4. So the rain continues to fall, and what has been a big crowd actually for a Sunday at Alton Park have been treated, apart from the rain, to some really good racing over the course of the day, and we look forward to seeing how the championship pans out at Donington next month. The GT4 championship for Will Burns then, and co-driver Gus Burton. But from Alton Park, from Bryn Lucas, Andy McEwen and David Addison, it's goodbye.
So here we are, the final round of the season, the Donington Decider. 5 contenders in the GT3 championship remain, and the GT4 Pro-Am title is still up for grabs too. All of the drivers and teams have given it their all this season, and it's time to see them battle it out one more time in this final 2-hour race of the season. Joe Osborne joined me once again. Let's dive straight into the championship decider.
Through the final turn they come. Place your bets, everyone. This is going to be a fantastic 2 hours of racing then, which is about to get properly underway now then. The red lights go out. We are away at racing at Donington Park, and immediately Michael Igoe establishes himself as the race leader as they make their way towards Redgate Corner. Keep an eye to Machitski. He's still 6th as they turn into the right-hander, and everybody minding their P's and Q's, not taking too many risks. Nicely single file through the turn. Richard Neary on an absolute stormer, and around goes the McLaren. Further back, that's Stuart Proctor, who wipes out one of the polystyrene marker boards, but should be able to get going. Igoe sideways, Richard Neary second. Another good start there from Neary.
Yeah, great control start by everyone. Everyone was very sensible. You saw the spacing between them as we see car going off to the right. Igoe's off to the right. Looks like that would have been by himself, and I mean that Neary wasn't close enough to put a move on him. So we've seen 2 cars spin in 3 corners. It's now starting to get on people's mind how slippy it really is. You've seen 2 cars go off already. People need to be looking at this and taking their time. Machitski looks aggressive. He's on the front foot all over the back of Ballon, but then Howard's on the back of him, showing his nose on the inside. Ballon gives him room, maybe a faint touch, and Ballon had to wait out of it, and that's given Howard the opportunity now.
Wow, so Leo Machitski, a big winner here, one of their big championship rivals off the road, and Leo is in a fighting mood, isn't he, this afternoon? He gets himself ahead of his teammate. Andrew Howard follows him through as well, as they now make their way to the chicane. Machitski is sideways, though he's running wide, keeps it on the island, but Andrew Howard pounces, and here comes Sandy Mitchell, 3 wide, and all 3 of these cars are going for the title. This is terrific stuff. On board with Mitchell, up the inside, there's a squeeze from Andrew Howard, who comes across the nose of the Lamborghini, and it is Adam Ballon then who looks as though, no, it's going to be Andrew Howard who comes out of the corner ahead, and now Machitski fights back again. The Barwell teammates at play. They did this at Silverstone, they did this at Alton Park last time out as well. Brilliant driving from all 3 of these, Joe. What brilliant racing.
Absolutely amazing, so clean, and we've seen 3 different cars in that pack leading. Machitski looks like he's got the most pace for me. He just needs to get it under control. That late break into the chicane locked the rear axle, and he was a passenger then, but he did well to continue. As we see Howard have a similar moment, and that's going to get Machitski through, and potentially Ballon follows through, but he doesn't. So I think this is now potentially the order they should be in pace-wise, but everyone's got a mistake in them, and it's going to be who makes the least mistakes. I'm glad we've only got 1 hour, 55 minutes left.
Down the chicane they go, towards the chicane and into the Grand Prix loop. What's going on in GT4? Looks like it's still Richard Williams in the Audi. Off in the background goes Igo again. That's the second time for Michael Igo, and this time he's beached it in the gravel trap. It was all looking so good for WPI Motorsport. They bagged the pole position, but a spin on the opening lap and another off now at Coppice. And that, I'm afraid, Joe, is their title done. Through the right-hander at Redgate they go, and they are about now to put a lap on the GT4 leader. That GT4 lead gap coming down as well. So Will Burns, I should say, is catching Michael Benyaya, and now Morgan Tilbrook runs wide, and this is Loggie's chance, goes to the outside, almost has contact with the GT4 leader. That was a bit scary, but Loggie has gone through. That was exciting.
Definitely, and it looked hard. I saw Michael actually indicate to his left-hand side at the top of Craners to show that he was going to leave the gap, but the pace difference, so you might not just see it, but the McLaren is indicating left at this moment, but then realises that he's going to lose too much time, so has to close the door, and now Tilbrook's in an awkward state where I go right for the inside of the old hairpin, but that's where Benyaya goes, and Loggie's in the really lovely position of just being able to fill the gap wherever it was, and that's where it's nice being the second place car. When you're the leader of the pack in that instance, the stress is on you to make the right decision. I think this is going to release Loggie. We've now got a Mercedes in 1 and 2, and I think Loggie's got the pace on Neary, so the gap is now 5 seconds at this moment in time. We're still going to probably get another, what we're going to get, 11 or 12 laps of this stint, so it's going to be interesting to see what that gap does. Yeah, we're also seeing Mitchell on the live timing here. As we see Clutton getting the brilliant run. It's going to be hard round the outside. He squeezes him. Yelmer's gone in deep. He's got this. What a great move. That was perfect. Being shown the outside, he had nothing he could have done but put pressure on Yelmer to go in tight and not have the driest bit of the track. And you really saw it. Marcus Clutton's a man on a mission here. I think Neary is going to get caught by him. It's going to be interesting what Berman can do about Neary. The other interesting one boiling in the background is Mitchell on Lynn, 2-second gap, and Mitchell is set in purple sectors. He is the fastest man on track, just behind Marcus Clutton at the moment. Sorry, replay here. So what I'm talking about, he goes in and then closes the door, and it pushes Yelmer onto the wetter part of the track, and that's why he goes deep. Yelmer didn't outbrake himself. He simply didn't have enough grip on the bit of track that Clutton basically bullied him into. Really clever, and you see the speed difference. Clutton's had a great X out of the chicane. On the brakes, not too late, and you just hear it maybe lock up a little bit. Can't get it stopped, and you can see how wet that track is on that rear view camera. It really isn't nice. And Clutton's gone. See you later.
The top three are together in traffic, GT3 and GT4 cars all as one. Marcus Clutton's got the lead, he can't escape though. Sam Neary getting boxed in, delayed. Yelmer Berman is right with them. A race win for Berman gives him the championship. He's got to attack, and he's got to attack now whilst the race leaders are getting held up. Sam Neary having a go here at Marcus Clutton. They've got more back Marcus up the road. Neary to the inside. They're both trying to go up the inside of the Stella Motorsport Audi of Sen and Fielding, which stays out of the way. So too does the Tolman Bentley. Very touchy-feely stuff here though. To the outside goes Neary. The Bentley's not getting out of the way. Joe, I can't watch.
Me neither. I'm glad Ian Loggie was there because it stopped me having kittens. He was so calm and relaxed. I don't know how. Great move by Marcus on Sam, completely fair. And then it all bunched up. I thought Marcus was going to get fired off. Now this is the interesting bit. What's Neary going to do? Is he going to fight Berman, or is he going to let him go? I still think Clutton's the fastest car on track. The other one in the mix is Ewan Hankey behind that Bentley, a lap down, but super fast. It's at the pace of these leaders. There's a lot of dynamics here still to play out, and I think the important part is the next few laps is Berman in front of Neary, yay or nay. They've got to win to get the championship, and that is their only hope. And I just feel if Clutton gets another couple of laps of clear non-GT4 effective laps, that win is not possible. Seen some flashing, I think, from Sandy there. I think that was on the GT4. I don't think that's at Phil Keane at all. But these cars are staying in a pretty stagnant position. And I think that might just be the way the Lamborghini works. It's a hugely aerodynamic car for GT3, so it suffers more of the wake from cars in front. And if that is another Lamborghini, it's like a double-edged sword. Melvin getting held up a little bit. So we've got a replay. Neary locking up the front left, losing the position to Berman. Completely missed that on the timing screens, and it's lost him a load of time. for all you conspirators out there, that was not on purpose. That was not team orders for me. That was a genuine mistake. I don't know why he was so offline, and I don't know if it's got an issue to lock up like that. The ABS should be looking at it. We're seeing 77 as being told no more contact, which I can kind of see what the race director, wow, that was wild. I think that could actually, I thought it was the front axle, but the rear went first. And I think he just touched the pit exit line, and it would just be holding the water a little bit more. You can see it's damp on that dotted white line. I think that's what's caught him out there.
Out of the hairpin then come the Lamborghini and the Porsche. I'm trying to work out what that means for this second place battle in the GT4 Championship, because it looks like now the number 2 car isn't going to score a single point, is it? So how are Turner and Topham getting on? They're running in 6th place at the moment. That would score them 12 championship points. That's not enough. So despite breaking down there, the number 2 car should still come home as runners-up in the GT4 Championship, but yeah, not quite the way they would want to have done that. There is Darren Turner coming through the chicane, then bouncing his way through. He's picked up some rubbish in the grill as well, but that won't be concerning the Aston Martin veteran as he drops down into the Melbourne hairpin. He's 7.2 seconds behind Jamie Stanley as well, so Jamie has managed that gap pretty well for the win in GT4 Pro-Am.
Yeah, I think veteran's a little bit rude. You see the colour of his hair. He's dyed it so much you wouldn't be able to guess his age anymore, Darren. So he's hiding those years. I think the wrinkles might show it. The lead battle down to a second now. So similar sort of gap here. We've got a red flag, unfortunately. I fully sympathise with what the race directors have had to do there. I think one person I'd be particularly happy to see that red, it might be Leo Machitski. I think that is a well-deserved congratulations. You can see the relief on his face. That is his son, by the way, and Adam Ballon, his teammate in the sister car, super happy. Race directors had to make a hard decision. I don't think there was another one that could have been made. The cars will line up on the grid. It's probably a little bit late to come into the pit lane, so it'll be interesting to see where they're told to go. It's all a bit of a formality. This isn't too much of a stress, to be honest.
Morgan Tilbrook and Marcus Clutton getting their first ever win in the championship for Enduro Motorsport, with Ian Logie and Jelmer Berman 1.9 seconds away from the championship and the race victory. But in the end, second place, not quite enough. They will, though, we think, wrap up the Pro-Am element of the championship. Simon Richard Neary, having led the entire first half of the race, end up third by the checkered flag, with Leo Machitski and Dennis Lynn. Fourth place enough for the championship for Barwell. And then in GT4, it's the Academy Motorsport Ford Mustang that takes the victory from the number 3 Team Rocket RJ and McLaren in second, and Century Motorsports championship-winning number 57 car rounds out the season with another podium finish. They've only missed the podium twice all year, that car. Nick Halstead and Jamie Stanley fourth ahead of Darren Turner and Matt Topham. They were the top 2 Pro-Am GT4 teams. The Pro-Am race win goes to Fox Motorsport. The championship, though, goes the way of Newbridge's Aston Martin, with Bradley Ellis and David Holloway's Aston Martin for Century Motorsport next in line. Confirmation then that Dennis Lind and Leo Machitski are your champions by 9.5 points over Ian Logie and Jelmer Berman, with Ballon and Mitchell third, Igo and Keane fourth, and Andrew Howard 5th place in the championship. He's not a champion this year, but he still makes the top 5.
So, in a typically nail-biting finish, the GT3 and GT4 champions have been crowned for the 2021 British GT season. And what a season it's been. From myself and all the team involved, we hope you've enjoyed the year, and we look forward to seeing you back in 2022 for another eventful season of racing.